Hello. You should tell what this video is about because of this. This video is about the coronavirus pandemic, and yes, I know I'm not supposed to touch my face. And it's a serious video because this is a serious pandemic, and yet some people just don't understand it. So why am I wearing a mask? Well, simple, really. And I hope you can hear me through the mask, but you're supposed to wear masks. There are mask mandates. Not everywhere, but there should be. And these mask mandates have been proven to slow the spread of infection and stop the spread of coronavirus. And can the government force you to wear masks? The answer is yes. Yes, they can. As a video by Legal Eagle can attest to, and that'll be in the description. So look in the description, you'll find that. But some people just don't understand the power of masks, or they don't think that masks do anything. But yes, they do stuff. Without masks, it's more likely to spread around, and sometimes I get annoyed by the obvious studies that they have to do on, like, scientific studies, but masks works is one of them, but the obvious study proves that yes, masks work. You should wear masks. If you don't wear masks, it's like you're saying you don't care about people. You don't care about the infection. You don't care about whatever business might be negatively affected by your lack of masks, because they could get in trouble if you're not complying. And for those who think it's against their rights to force someone to wear a mask, you're way off. I mean, come on. It's there for your safety. There are tons of laws and rules based on your safety, such as you must obey the speed limit, or else you could get a ticket, or you have to signal when making turns while driving. What else is there? You have to wear your seatbelt. Those are just simple driving rules, but they're all laws, and they can all get you in trouble for doing it. And there's tons of other laws out there that are there for your own safety. Those are just 3 examples of driving laws. So yeah. Somehow people don't even take this coronavirus pandemic seriously. Like, remember when Mr. Lame Duck, that is Trump, he would talk about how it's just a hoax? Gee, the Republicans are doing a very strange job. Because if they want to prove a hoax, why is it so many of the Republican politicians who are getting coronavirus, whereas very few Democratic politicians have been getting coronavirus? Yeah, that's a really weird way to prove a hoax, by being infected yourself. And if you don't do the right stuff, then things go poorly, because, like, after the Sturgis rally, or whatever it was, in North Dakota, things went very terribly there, and yet they still inexplicably re-elected their governor, who's been handling things terribly, and didn't have a mask mandate until, like, way late. I don't even know just how late it was. And then Missouri also re-elected their governor, who's been handling coronavirus terribly. Yeah, maybe I'll get to more this term called avoidance preference in the future, but I don't know if I'll cover it in a video or a blog post, or maybe both. Anyways, Trump has repeatedly said it was a hoax, and he never apologized for it or corrected it, because of course he doesn't. And then he gets infected with it, and he might have only survived it because of medical treatments that wouldn't be available to your average person. And yet he still doesn't care about spreading infections, because they have linked, according to Daily Kos, they have linked about 700 deaths from coronavirus to Trump rallies. Remember Herman Cain? He died of coronavirus, and yet some people are still convinced that, oh no, it's underlying conditions. Yeah, do you want to continue to support this 6% myth that only 6% of people actually died of coronavirus, when I think they were just specifying that it was pure coronavirus and not just other stuff? Because someone with Tourette syndrome might not have just Tourette syndrome. They might have it, just that, and no other neurological disorders, as they're called. But they might have other issues as well. Or not necessarily issues, it depends on whether or not you think autism is a problem. I sure don't. But, yeah. People refuse to take coronavirus seriously, even when it kills people. Like there was a wedding in Maine they linked a bunch of infections to and a death to, but the deaths were not anyone who attended the wedding, it's just people who spread it there. And in Texas, a lot of prisoners died because they somehow got infected, but some of these people hadn't even been convicted of crimes yet. They were just awaiting trial, it seems. It's horrible. And some people may think that, oh, certain governors may have messed it up, or that it might be worse in blue states, but maybe you could say that at some point. Like, indeed, it wasn't good for Andrew Cuomo to put patients in nursing homes. Well, I'm still not sure where this whole idea was that he could get boats or whatever from and put people there. And, like, boats. But yeah, it was once worse in New York. But then it was worse in California. But now the most deaths have been in Texas. Yeah. And you would think that because more people tend to live in blue states, that there's the potential for more deaths. Of course, you do have to wonder, aren't there some countries with more people than the US, even before the pandemic? Shouldn't those countries have been doing worse? And you'd think possibly, but they weren't because of how bad our response was. Like, while the outbreak was known to have started in China, it was definitely Italy that had it the worst for a while, but then it came to the US and we had it worse. And I think we still do, although Brazil might be trying to fuck things up as well. Yeah, fucked up background for a fucked up time. I wonder just how more this background could get even weirder. We don't know for sure. And now there's incidents of racism and other violent measures against Chinese people, or those thought to be Chinese, or at least those of Chinese descent because of it. And it's certainly not helped by Trump and tons of other Republicans saying that China should be blamed for the pandemic. So what if the outbreak started here? Does that excuse our country's poor response to it? Does it? And here's the number one reason why I know that this pandemic would not be blamed on China, because in all situations, because if Hillary Clinton were president now, they'd be blaming her. They wouldn't be blaming China. They'd say, oh, she's bad at it. Because Republicans never accept responsibility for their own doing. They never apologize for anything. They always blame the Democrats for everything, especially when it's their own fault. That is the Republicans' fault. Yeah, so Republicans in this reality, they blame China, and if Hillary Clinton were president, they'd be blaming her, and not China, even though the outbreak would have started in the same place in either reality. But sadly, there are no other realities, and we'll never know what happens under a Hillary Clinton presidency, although it could make a good movie. not even a science fiction one, just one trying to create the alternate history of that event. I wonder what all the Trump supporters who die of coronavirus do. I mean, the epitaphs probably say, died of coronavirus, gotten out of Trump's rally. Still support him, though. That's what a lot of their epitaphs would probably say. Died because of Trump's poor response to whatever. Still support him. I mean, I don't know if that would actually be true or not, but it might as well be. Yeah. And because national lockdowns are illegal, although I'm certain that if Trump had done it, that the courts would have approved it and people would have been more than happy to do it. It didn't happen, but there wasn't as much coordination between all of the governors. There were some alliances, like one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, one in the Midwest, but largely there's not as much link between them, and I do worry if some of them are just for show, make it seem like they're working together when they might not be. Who knows? Do you think the governor alliances have worked well, or that they were more just for show and not as much coordination? I really hope they still exist. You think that would be something that could always happen, and that all of their successors should be primed to stay part of the same alliances, even long after the pandemic is over. Yeah, this pandemic sucks, but it's made even worse by the government's terrible response to it. And people just seem weird and okay with some of it, and then they try to blame other things. Like, they try to say, well, if the swine flu was as bad as coronavirus, then there would have been way more deaths. But that's a pure hypothetical, and there's no way of proving that Obama wouldn't have had a different response had there been a more deadly pandemic during his time in office. Yeah. Who knows just what would have happened? And for all this fiction that Trump isn't racist, yeah, if you actually believe that, you need a reality check. Just have to look further than the death statistics to be like, oh, this is how many black people died, and this is how little white people have died. Now, it's already fiction that people don't have coronavirus and die in a car crash and then are counted as coronavirus deaths. But let's say the coronavirus is kind of like AIDS, where it would cause you to die of something you normally wouldn't die of. Like if you never would have died of pneumonia if you didn't have coronavirus, then shouldn't it count as a coronavirus death? Shouldn't it? Yeah, people need to take this seriously. They need to wear masks and not be an asshole. And yeah, there's lots of more things to say, maybe, but I think I covered all the bases, and I'll end this video here. But yeah, coronavirus is terrible. Please wear a mask. It shows that you care, and hopefully that's it. There won't be any more issues because of coronavirus once there's a vaccine. One of the good things Trump actually did is, of course he would. Who wouldn't do a vaccine? And people are convinced that things would have been worse under Biden somehow, but maybe that's why Trump's doing so terribly during the lame duck section, to even admit that he lost. Doing things for Biden. But that is all. Bye.